Okay, Boker Tov. So today's daf is officially daf Samech. We are at the bottom of Nuntet Amud Aleph. Maybe we'll even get close to catching up today, poo and all that. So we pick up at the very bottom of Nuntet Amud Aleph, and we have been talking about the debate in a Braita quoted in the Gemara whether the another way of looking at these issues of Kohen Gadol and also looking at the particular category of Basula. So when we dealt with Kohen Gadol, we saw that Rabbi Meir defined Basula completely anatomically. Didn't matter if she had sex, as long if it was Dias or Kedarka, as long as the hymen had been completely in its pristine state, as it were. So she had to be she couldn't be a Bogeres, and others that defined it more in terms of sex. And now you're dealing with the issue about no, I'm sorry, am I in the wrong daf?
Yes.
Okay, so forget that. Today's daf is, oh God, sorry about that. Today's daf, we'll start again. Start again, at least the audio recording. Seriously, we'll stop it. All right, take two. I was too rushed. Okay. All right. Today's daf is should be daf Samech Aleph. We pick up at the bottom of daf Samech. Thank you. In the context of these issues about defining Basula for Kohen Gadol, we get into this debate of the Tanaim, quoting the Gemara, about where the Torah says by Kohen is metamei for achoto habsula hakrova elav asher lo hayatal ish. So what is that definition of betula asher lo hayatal ish and hakrova elav? And how much, number one, if she's married without having had sex, and number two, in terms of the basula issue, how much is it about her anatomically being a basula, or how much is it about not having had sex, where the Torah is more explicit about that? So yesterday we explored the position of Rabbi who was it? Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, that said that even had she been married, Erusin was not nisuin. I'm sorry. If it was Erusin and not nisuin, yes. That he is not metame to her. Excuse me. I'm feeling I'm going too fast. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, who said that Erusin would not be a problem. Okay, and we explored that based on the pasuk, that they felt Erusin would not be a problem. Now we turn to the position of Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon that say Erusin alone would be a problem. And let's take a look at that. So the Gemara picks up at the bottom of Samech Amud Aleph. The Gemara says like this: Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon. That last narrow line. My Tamayu. What's their reasoning? That they say that the achoso habsula, it's and if she's Erusin, he's no longer metame to her. So Darshi hachi lachoso habsula prat lanusa mufuta mukaseit. It's virgin, meaning not having had sex, anusa or mufuta, whatever the context would be, rape, seduction, never having had sex. Umukaseit, and also the hymen is complete, not a mukaseit. Asher lo hayisa, so if that already excludes sex and demands that the hymen is complete, anatomically, what's asher lo hayisa liish? Prat la rusa. Lo hayisa not being read as not being had by a man in terms of having had sex, but not having had kiddushin with a man, right? So, and therefore, an arusa would be excluded. Hakrova, but the one who is close, seemingly that that's somehow read as being including as opposed to excluding. L'rabos arusa shenis garsha. So if she was an arusa, but then she's divorced, now she's krova, that's fine. Which would obviously not be the same if she had had sex, and she would no longer be a basula, end of story. Okay, but in terms of arusa, that was only that presently she was haisa leish. That could be reversed. Elav, l'rabos es habogeres. So Elav is coming to somehow also be more inclusive, that there's more women he's matame to. So even a Bogeres, which is interesting, although Mukas 8's not, that's more of a rupture. Bogeres, which is more natural, maybe just a thinning or however it's understood, that she would still be considered Basula. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to analyze.
Mukat 8 is being treated like an anusa and a mafuta.
Yeah. Hakrova l'rabos arusa shenis garsha. The Gemara says, so Krova is coming to say that if now she is divorced, it's okay. Okay, because she's still Basula and lo haysa liish and fine. So the Gemara says, "V'hamar Rabbi Shimon ru'iyah l'kohen gadol metamela, she'en ru'iyah l'kohen gadol ein metamela." 1 minute. Rabbi Shimon said that we have to apply the same standard to this issue of a Kohen being matami to a sister, and to the issue about would she be able to marry a Kohen Gadol. So if a woman was arusa and then divorced, she wouldn't be able to marry a Kohen Gadol. Now, of course, you could say Rabbi Shimon was only saying that in terms of the definition of the idea of besula. How do we define virgin here? And he's saying we define virgin here, however we define it by Kohen Gadol. But the Gemara understands that it's a broader statement and says, no, the only woman here normal Kohen's matami to is a sister that could marry a Kohen Gadol. So if she was arusa and then grusha, she couldn't marry a Kohen Gadol. So the Gemara said, because she's a grusha. So the Gemara says, no, Shani Hasam to Rabbi Rachmana. Nah, because, that is a general rule, but there the Pasuk overrode it. The Pasuk said that she would. Okay, I think that the better explanation of that, or maybe to interpret what the Gemara means is that all he's saying is that you use the same definition of Besula that you get from Kohen Gadol. Not everything is defined by Kohen Gadol. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this. Krova. Shani Hasam Rabbi Rachmana Krova. Krova has come to be included, and therefore it includes her after she's been divorced. Iachi Muchatz Nami. So why don't we say that by Muchatz? Let's say that not Rabbi Krova, Rabbi. So let's include that because if we're including more of the marginal cases and saying that that's okay. Someone says no. Krova achas v'lo shtayim. It only says krova once. You can only include one woman. Umar Isa. All right, Umar Isa. Why do you more include this woman who is divorced as opposed to Mukaseit? Ha isavi b'masa, alo isavi b'masa. In one case, nothing physical has happened to her, and the other it has. Meaning, in one case, it's not an aspect about her being a virgin or not. So therefore, he's willing to include the idea that arusa is out of the category. It's not, even though it's not because she's not a virgin. So even though she is a virgin, that he's willing to say if she's no longer an arusa, we'll put her back. And the fact that she is a grusha is not relevant for this discussion. But the definition of virgin, that he's learning from Kohen Gadol, and therefore we're not interested in sort of being more inclusive in terms of that. It's a broader category as we learn from Kohen Gadol.
So it becomes a community obligation to bury her then? If, let's say he's a brother and then a parent?
Yeah, or no, family obligation.
She's got kids.
Father, brothers, whatever. Okay, so the word says like this. It could be Kaveh Mitzvah. Okay, so the word says like this. Okay, so that's that. That they basically say that if she's an arusa, no, but if she's niskarsha, yes. Okay, now the Rebbe says like this. Rabbi Yossi, midushavke lebar zuge michlad mukaseit kreb meir shirlei. So if you remember the break from yesterday, the Gemara started by saying you have Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda that say an arusa he can be matame to her. You had Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon said he cannot be matame to her. And then it says, how about a mukaseit? So it says you can be matame to her. I'm sorry. Mukaseit, you cannot be matame to her, says Rabbi Shimon, because Rabbi Shimon would apply the same standard as by a Kohen Gadol. So we had Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon saying arusa cannot be matame her. Then it said when it came to Mukaseit, it said Rabbi Shimon said you can't be matame her. What happened to Rabbi Yossi? Where did he go? So clearly he would disagree. He would say Mukaseit can be matame to her. So the Gemara says like this: Rabbi Yossi. Since Rabbi Yossi left his companion there, right? He abandoned Rabbi Shimon when he was with Rabbi Shimon when you said not an arusa. When Rabbi Shimon was saying not a mukaseit, he was nowhere to be found. So since he abandoned Rabbi Shimon, he must hold like mukaseit like Rabbi Meir that says that it's not a problem. Okay, so the Gemara says minale. Where does he get it from? Milo haisal leish. Because it says lo haisal ish, it defines it. What does virgin mean in this context? In this context, virgins means not having had sex. It's not about anatomically. So the Gemara says v'ha fikte. 1 minute, but you can't do that because Rabbi Yossi also says that arusa is no good, and because he learned haital ish not about sex but about being married. So if lo haital ish is saying never married, how could he also say that defines that virgin is only about sex? So the Gemara says no. Chad mi lo haisa v'chad mi leish. No, lo haisa means never married, so that's why he excludes arusa. Leish means that when we're talking about sex, when we're talking about virgin, we're talking about having had sex. We're not about having been with a man. We're not talking about mukaseit. Okay. By the way, it's worth noting that Rabbi Meir, the same Rabbi Meir that defined basula completely anatomically by Kohen Gadol, and said even a mukaseit is a problem, even a bogeris is a problem, but bia shelo kadarka is not. Here, Rabbi Meir is doing a complete reversal and saying that basically mukaseit, no problem. The The only problem is lo haisal ish, whether she has had sex or not. So it's quite fascinating that he says, yeah, there are two definitions of virgin out there: the anatomical one and never having had sex. The anatomical one is going to say what that's by Kohen Gadol, never having had sex. Asher lo haisal ish, that's about a Kohen being matami to his sister. So I think it's quite fascinating that he takes those two definitions and says, yeah, and based on the hints in the Torah, I'm going to apply one in one case and one in the other case. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this. So the Gemara says, okay, a lav l'rabos habogeres. So now it says a lav that even if Mukha say it's not bogeres, yes. Somehow a lav is coming to say he is matami to his sister who's a bogeres. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon besula shleima lashma. We said a day or two ago that when he was looking at the Kohen Gadol pasuk, besula meant complete besulim. So here it says achoso habesula. So why doesn't we have to say complete besulim and excluding a bogeres? So the answer is obvious. We have a pasuk that tells you otherwise. So the Gemara says, time of the day, nami hasamecha. Yeah, his reason over there to learn out that basula normally means complete, and even before being a maturity, is because of what he figures out from these psukim. Why? Mehacha, yidarish. This is how he learns the psukim. Since the Torah is telling me the word elav to say that a Kohen is matami to his sister who is a bogeres, even though it already said the word besula, why did I need a lav to include a bogeres? This I can infer the besula, that the word besula itself, besula shleima mashma, would have implied a perfect betulim even before puberty. So the fact that the Torah had to say a lav to tell me bogeres means that by the word besula I would have excluded bogeres, and from here I learned the principle that the word besula by itself means not a bogeres, a complete even before any puberty and any change in the besula. Fine. Anyway, those are the various debates. What's interesting is, number one, the idea that a sister, even if she's just in a rusa and it's not about sex, might be that not matame, and B, different possible definitions. Rabbi Shimon says use the same definition by Kohen Gadol, but Rabbi Meir is a complete reversal. By Kohen Gadol, it's all anatomical. Here, it's all about sex. Okay, now the Gemara continues like this. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon Yochai Omer. Now we get to Rabbi Shimon Yochai, and now we get to a very different discussion and an extremely relevant one, not about Kohen Gadol anymore. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon Yochai Omer. So a woman who converted less than 3 years old, right? A girl, meaning that she converted because, her mother converted her or whatever, an adult converted her, she can marry a Kohen. Now, assuming, of course, that a Gioris cannot marry a Kohen. We haven't established that yet, but if you peek ahead at Samach Aleph Amud Aleph, let's take a look. And it says over there, where is it? Hold on. Yeah, look at the last mission on Samach Aleph Amud Aleph. Kohen Hedyot lo yisa ilani selim ken yeshu shabanim lebiudo merach yeshu shabanim. We're ignoring that for now. Lo yisa ilani. So the Rabbi says even if he's fulfilled peravu, he can't marry a woman who can't have kids. Shehi zona hamur b'Torah. The Chachamim omrim ein zona ela gioret u'meshuchreres v'sheniva lo lebilat znut. A zona is only a woman who converted, or was a slave that was freed, or has had forbidden sex. What type of forbidden sex, whatever. We'll discuss that, but what I wanted you to see is the basic halacha that a gioris is being put in the category of zona, presumably because of an assumption that that a non-Jewish woman is a woman who has sex, isn't guided by sexual mores. That's the assumption. Now, you could think about this in one of two ways, and this is a very big machlokas we've shown about this. Either you could say, essentially, because we're choshed that he had sex with a non-Jew, we suspect that that's what happened, and if a single woman has sex with a Jewish woman has sex with a Jew, other than Rabbi Eliezer, Pana Baal Pnuya, we say that doesn't invalidate it for a Kohen. Okay, it's not like maybe you shouldn't be having sex outside of marriage, but it's not like an Isser Kares or whatever. But if a single woman has sex with a Jew, a Jewish woman has sex with a non-Jew, it doesn't validate her for a Kohen because there's no kiddushin tosin by a non-Jew. And since marriage is impossible with a non-Jew, then that act basically is defined as more fundamentally as a bi'etz nus. Let's say a non-Jew has sex with a non-Jew, right? Before she converted. So why should that be a problem? Maybe, what if they did it in the context of marriage? Okay? But one way of starting this issue about a gioris is to say, no, sex with a non-Jew, even if it was a non-Jew having had sex with a non-Jew, would make her a zona. And since we suspect that non-Jews aren't being guided by sexual mores, any woman who converts, we're concerned that she's had sex with a non-Jew, and that's why she's in the category of zona. So if that's the way of thinking about it, it's basically a type of a suffix zona. Maybe she had sex with a non-Jew, right? That would be sort of the logic, right?
Sorry, I thought we say chazaka that she did.
Okay, if she's 3 years old in one day, maybe we would say suffix. But suffix or chazaka, but anyway, it's because of what might have happened. Whether, however much confident we feel it did or it did happen. The other way of saying it might be, no, maybe, because she had a non-Jewish identity, again, with the assumption that non-Jews are guided by similar sexual mores, so that makes her from part of the, sort of a liberal, uninhibited West, and therefore that labels her as zona, whatever activity she had. You understand? So it's not the question of having had that. Maybe she had that act, and that would have made her a zona. She's a zona because she was a non-Jew, so she was in the category of libertines. Okay, and whether she actually did something about it or not, that labels her. Okay, very different way of thinking about it. Normally, the general assumption is the first way, but it's not so black and white. So it's interesting to think about. Well, let's say people want to argue. Let's say you can know bevadai, and do you treat the whole thing as a suffix deoraisa or as a real deoraisa? Well, there are different. Anyway, these are types of questions.
So
yes.
Are we really positing that at some point, either in the time of Chazal or the time of Torah, that all non-Jewish societies were sexually?
No, but yeah, but we're positing that might be the legal category that Chazal put them in. That might be the perspective that Chazal had. It's sort of like in terms of recent parshiot. It's like Avram goes to Mitzrayim, right? And it's like, and he says, oh, Ein Yiras Elokim, etc., right? And then whatever. But then by Avimelech, and then you have the same thing by Yitzchak. It's like, you shouldn't have made the same assumptions. Like, it seemed like they were much better over there with Avimelech and the Plishtim than they were in Mitzrayim. But, but I'm like, no, all non-Jews are like this way. It doesn't sort of, don't assess case by case. I'm learning with some of the guys in the Kollel, Maseches Avodah Zarah, right? And how much you make sort of like broad characterizations or not. So I would say two things. I would say, that might have, that certainly, it certainly might have been their perception. And B, even if they were aware of differences, they might have felt of like the legal category to put it in. Like the idea is like somebody once said, the most, like, for better or worse, like one of the most amazing things that the Jews have managed like to convince the whole world of is that the way you categorize people is Jews and non-Jews, right? Like, why is it, they're Jews and they're Christians, they're Muslims, like, no, fundamentally there's Jews and they're non-Jews. So if you look at the non-Jews as a fundamentally undifferentiated rest of the world, and you see in general that they're looser sexual mores, you just give it one halachic category. But that would be my basic guess.
Yeah, in Rabbi Shimon's time, in the Roman society he lived in, the idea that non-Jews were sexually licentious was certainly true for that time in that community.
Right. So, and that could have led to a general characterization. Okay, so let's move back. So the assumption is that this Gioret is normally a zona, but what if she converts less than 3 years in a day? And less than 3 years in a day, now it's funny. If the question was, do we actually think she's had sexual activity? Probably even 3 years in a day, we don't think it. But whether it is halachically considered an act of sex, so less than 3 years in a day, maybe again, because of the assumption that the hymen would grow back, or whatever reason it is, Chazal understood that would not, even if sex occurred, would not halachically be defined as an act of sex.
Even for the Jews.
So, right. So what happens if she converts less than 3 years in a day?
She can't really even be a Jew. She's not a Bardat.
No. So an adult converted her. That's a separate study about an adult converting a minor. Okay, so let's take a look. Her parents converted with her. It's other cases. Tanya, Reb Shimon Yochai Omer, Yoris Pchusim Yas Shlosh Shanim Yom Echad, Ksher Laguna. She can marry a Kohen. Shenemer V'chol Ataf Benashim Asher Lo Yadu Mishkav Zachar Hechayu Lachem. This is by Midyan. All of the infants, literally, or the children that have never had sex, you can keep them alive. Okay, and how do we know that means even for Kohanim? Because Pinchas was there, and he's a Kohen, so Hachayu Lachem. So therefore, you see that you can have somebody that was started non-Jewish and is mutter to a Kohen. V'Rabbanan, and he's going to assume they're less than 3 years, and that's the idea of Taf. V'Rabbanan, the rabbis would say that, we're not talking for wives, you can have them for slaves. So the Gemara says, if that's true, of course, then why would it matter if they had sex or not? But that could be because, because the women were caused Bnei Israel to sin or whatever. So, but it's not about having them as wives. So if says the Gemara, okay, we get how he's reading the pasuk. But if it's about not having had sex and it's asher lo yidu mishkav zachar, so why not say even 3 years and a day if they didn't have sex? It would be okay. No, to Rav Huna. That's because of Rav Huna. To Rav Huna Rami. Rav Huna showed a contradiction. See, one pasuk says, "Kol isha yodas ish mishkav zachar harogu." Any woman who's had sex, kill. And it's isha, a woman, like even an adult. So ha eno yodas. If it's a woman who has not had sex, kimu. So you can keep her. Michlal. So it's really not about being an adult woman or a minor. It's about having had sex. But if we're going to read it like this way, it says if it's an adult woman and she hasn't had sex, then if she's had sex is a problem. Not sex, fine. So that would suggest that if there's then going to be a difference in terms of a minor, that a minor, even having had sex, wouldn't be a problem. Wouldn't be a problem. But the pasuk says, if it's a minor who hasn't had sex, if it's minor who has had sex, harogu, kill her. So meaning basically what it's saying is that there are two criteria going on in the psukim. One is having had sex or not, and the other is adult or minor, isha or taf. So the Gemara says, like, make up your mind. Which is it about? What's the dividing line? Is it Isha versus Tav, or is it Yadu and Lo Yadu? What's the distinction? So so the Gemara says, let's read the Gemara. I know what you could say. Let's read the Gemara. So the Gemara says, so the difference is, in a way, between a woman and a minor. But the reason the difference of a woman is because of a woman and a minor is because having had it's not the pasuk doesn't mean have they had sex or not. It means could have had sex. So if it's an isha, a woman, and she could have had sex, so then not a problem. If it's, however, a minor, since she's asher lo yadu mishkav zachar, since they couldn't have had sex because we're under 3 years old, therefore it's not a problem. Okay, so he's resolving the fact that there's two different criteria that are going on, and there's an excluded middle there, right? And he basically says, no, the idea of yadu and lo yadu doesn't mean in fact whether they've had sex. It means whether they could have had sex, and that's why fundamentally it's a different of an adult or a minor, except a real minor under 3 years old. Okay, so that's how he's reading it, and therefore from there he learns that there's an issur that's mutter to a she can marry a kohen if she converted under 3 years old. Tanya Nam Yahachi, we taught similarly. So it doesn't mean having had sex, it means having been able to have had sex. Maybe means literally have sex, because there it says infants who haven't known, so why saying infants? So Havi Omer, since it's introducing the issue of infants, we're talking about whether it's fit for having had sex, not whether in practice they have. Now the Gemara says, Mina Yadi. Okay, how do you know? So how do they know over that time, right? If you said, now you could say, well, how old is she? It's not whether she has had sex. But I don't understand. You capture all these women and you have babies. How do you determine whether they're 3 years and a day or 2 years and 12 and 11 months? And how do you know how old they are? The same way you could ask, how do you know if you've had sex, right? How do you know? So Amar Avuna Bar Bizna, Amar Rabbi Shimon Chasida, have you room lifnei hatzitz? They made them pass before the tzitz. Right, on the Kohen Gadol, back to Kohen Gadol. Kol shepaneha, maybe because of the same some connection there with Basula as well. Anyway, Kol shepaneha morikot, any woman whose face basically turned jaundice, biadua she ru'uya libayo. Then you knew that she was more than 3 years old. Rashi, of course, says this is a nace. Nobody's explaining this in a naturalistic way. Because okay, so it was some miracle that we figured out which were older than 3 and which were not. Amar Rav Nachman, Simin Lavera Hadrakon. By the way, if you want to know if somebody is a sign that somebody has sinned, it's if they have like a jaundice. Now here explains it may mean sex. Avera often does mean classically sex. Although it's interesting, for some reason my mind wasn't going there. But if you look at Rashi seems to more generalize it and describe it in naturalistic terms. A second statement: Paneim shall ovre avera morikin. Like, if people sin, sometimes you can see it on their face, okay, in some way or another.
It becomes white, right? In other words, it's empty. They're emptied of blood.
Right. Now, Tosas does say, right, Torah does say that morikot is not the same as hadrokan. I think Tosas says that.
What is morikot?
Well,
green is in Yarok or yellow?
No. Tosas says it is the same as hadrokan. It's not the same as yarkon, which is jaundice. I don't know how do they explain moritod in English? What bloating?
No, Panam, where
There's a Rashi proposed, and a roof described hydroton as a disease whose prominent symptom is a bloating of the stomach.
And what do they say about panam moritod?
Another one identifies it with dropsy.
All right, what does Sheinfeld say?
sallow. Just here they say term sallow.
That's very helpful.
Here's the
It
sallow.
identifies it as cetus, which is bloating in the abdomen.
Oh, same thing.
Usually
Oh,
caused by
interesting. Okay, so now yeah.
Whenever they say term
That's
sallow.
like
Sallow means like pale? What
Yeah.
does sallow mean?
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay, fine. Anyway, something happens to the face. Moving on.
Bloating.
But no, it's important. I Tosis Dafka said it wasn't jaundice, and I was reading it as
Bloating
jaundice.
is like a sota image.
Right, that's a good point.
Ascites, A-S-C-I-T-E-S.
Yes,
Which means what?
same here.
Okay, moving on. Okay, we got to move on. Okay. I'm Rav Nachman. Okay. Similarly, about a miracle in a very similar area of determining what was going on with the women. So if the people remember this story, basically after all the tribes sort of ganged up on who was it? Binyamin, and pretty much wiped them, or did wipe them out almost completely, and then took an oath that they couldn't give their daughters for them to marry, and then they regretted their oath. And what are you going to do about this whole tribe, and where are they going to get wives? So then they said, oh wait, we got an idea. Was there anybody who wasn't part of the oath? Oh yeah, there was these Yoshvei Yavesh Gilad. They weren't part of the oath. You know why they weren't part of the oath? Because they didn't participate in the battle. What? They didn't participate in the battle? Let's go kill them out. So they went ahead and they wiped out all the men, and then they seized the women who didn't have sex from that Yavesh Gilad, and then they gave them over to the tribe of Binyamin. Okay, so there's like this whole story these foundational stories by Rome, or not even a myth, right? About the whole thing about, what is it, the rape of the something women of the Sabian women. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So all right. So anyway, so the word says like this. Okay. So Mina Yadi, how did they know these women of Yavesh Gilad that they were now giving over to Binyamin? How did they know they never had sex? Amrav Kana hu shivum al pi chavit shel yayin. So here we have a test which didn't need the tzitz. They had them sit on a barrel of wine. Okay, the Gemara believes that this is a way of determining. Be'ula reicha nodev, a woman who's had sex, if she's sitting on top of a barrel of wine, then a smell emanates from her. And besula ein reicha nodev, but if the besula doesn't, maybe the Gemara thought that the wine, the vapors go into her up her vaginal canal or something, and the besula prevents it from going. I don't know what they thought. Anyway, okay, so this is what they think. Then so the Gemara says, "V'navi reinu lifnei tzitz." Well, I don't understand. There was still a tzitz at that time. Why don't you say that that's how they determined it? So Amar Avkana Breda Rav Nosson, Ratzon lahemksi. The tzitz is supposed to be something that finds desire. Ratzon v'lo l'puranos. It's for ratzon and not for puranos, bad things. So here was you wiped out a whole tribe.
So
maybe we're going to get to that. Maybe if the women that weren't virgins, maybe they would have killed here from Yoshvei Gilad. It's not a good thing going on here. So the Gemara says, Ihachi b'minyan nami. So they're also there. You're really the ones that are going to fail the test. You're going to kill. So Amar Ravashi lahemksi. No, for them, for Bnei Yisrael, it has to be l'ratzon. Lahem l'ratzon, v'lo l'puranias. Lo avdei kolchavim afil l'puranos. But for non-Jews, the tzitz can even work l'puranos. Very nice. Amar Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi, Amar Rav Yoshua ben Levi, halacha Reb Shimon ben Yochai. We rule like Reb Shimon ben Yochai that says that pchusim mibas shlosh shanim is mutter l'kohen. Very important, right? Because you definitely have cases of underage converts, women who convert when they're pregnant, or even women that convert when they have small children, and so on. So he says we rule like Reb Shimon Yochai, mutter l'kohen. Amar Rav Zera Rav Yaakov Bar Idi. So Rav Zera said to Rav Yaakov Bar Idi, when you said this in the name of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, did you hear him explicitly say it, or did you infer it? My klala, why might you have assumed that it was implicit? The honor of Yoshua ben Levi, there was a certain city in Israel that there was or town, that there was some question about somebody's personal status, not about the whole town, presumably about a certain person, a certain woman's status. V'shara Rabbi is Rabbi Romnus. Rabbi sent Rabbi Romnus, Ubadka, and he checked into it. Umatza babas Gioris, and he found that the problem was that there was a daughter of a Gior, which presumably means that Chusam presumably means that she herself also had converted, was converted by her mother under 3 years old. And that was everybody, she can't be married to a Kohen because she converted under 3. Rebbe said, don't get so worried, don't get so worked up. She's fine. Now, apparently, it also means she can stay married to a Kohen, because the reason everybody was getting up in a tizzy was she was already married, and people were saying it's a problem. And Rabbi said, no, it's fine. She can stay married to a Kohen. So that's how I hear that under 3 years old is not a problem. So Amar Lei, so he said back to him, so he said, did you infer it from that case, or did you hear it explicitly? So he said, Befer Shmili. No, I heard him explicitly rule that way. Or says, Imichlalamai. So why does it matter? I mean, okay, maybe he got it, he inferred it. It's still a good inference. No. Because you can always question certain inferences. Dilma, Shani Hasam, the Insiv. Maybe there he was more lenient because she was already married. Maybe we wouldn't have allowed it lichatchila. So the Gemara says, 1 minute. How do you know? Rav and Yochanan both said yesterday, Bogeres Umukaseit Lo Yisa. A Kohen Gadol can't marry a Bogeres Umukaseit. Nasa Nasli. But if he marries, he can stay married. So here too, maybe he can stay married, but it's not fundamentally, it's not allowed. So the Gemara says, no, you can't make the comparison. What type of comparison is that? There, in the end, she's going to become an adult while she's married, and she's going to become a bu'ula when she's married to him. So there, it might be that we're able to tolerate the situation, even though maybe he's still doing an issa, or maybe the whole problem is rooted in the kiddushin and not in the nisuin and not in the ongoing marriage. Okay, because there the status is going to always changes. But here for Gioret is a zona, right? And in normal situation, we would never tolerate a Kohen married to a zona. So why are we going to tolerate it if it's just because they're already married now? Okay, so it's there we tolerate the situation because that winds up happening anyway. In every single normal case of a Kohen Gadol, every single case, normal case of a Kohen Gadol married to a Ktam. Okay, but anyway, that winds up happening anyway. But here, we wouldn't tolerate it if it were usher. So the fact that it was tolerated clearly shows that it's mutter. Okay, so that's the most. A, he said it explicitly, and B, yes, even if it was just inferred, it would clearly show that it was mutter. No questions there. Rav Safra Masni Lo Miklala. Now Rav Safra learned that this was figured out only by inference, wasn't taught explicitly. The Kashle, and he was bothered. It's not a good inference. They were already married. Umashani La Hachi. And he gave the same answer that we just gave. No, it is a good inference, because even though they were already married, we wouldn't have tolerated it. Okay, now, who kahana the insiv giores? There was a certain Kohen who married a giores who had converted less than 3 years old. Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Now, up till now, everything is like fine. Now we reverse. Says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak to him, my high, what are you doing? I'm Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi. I'm Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Allah Rabbi Shimon Yochai. We like Rabbi Shimon Yochai. By the way, in these cases, you don't have to assume they're getting married when the person is still 3 years old. Okay, she converted when she was 3 years old. Anyway, yeah, we like Rabbi Shimon Yochai. Amalei, he said back to him, Zil afik, go and divorce her. Elo, and if you don't, Mafkina lecha Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi mi'uncha. I'll pull Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi out of your ear. Don't tell me, Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi says we were like Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. You and Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi, whatever. Forget about that. We do not pass in that way, and I'm going to force you to divorce her. Okay, so here's a very different ruling. Okay, so that's the end. We don't know the conclusion, although since the Gemara ends with a Ma'aser Rav, an actual story, although there wasn't another Ma'aser Rav before about Rabbi, but it ends with the line like, I'll pull Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi out of your ear, like the heck with Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi. We don't rule that way. That leads a lot of poskim to assume we don't rule that way. And even Pachos Mibas Shlosh Shanim is Asher L'Kum.
We had it before,
okay?
Right? That you couldn't marry until Ajay Imo Yisrael. That was back on Nun Zayin, wasn't it? We had that.
Yeah, but we didn't rule that way either. But here, anyway, I don't want. Yeah, yes, you're correct, but let's not worry right now about reconciling those. Okay, but anyway, here there's a debate of Rishonim. How do we rule about Giyor's Pusim Mibas Shlosh Shanim?
What do we say?
Okay, I'm not getting into all of it right now. Okay, there is a debate of Rishonim how we rule about that. Okay, Tanya B'china Reb Shimon Yochai Omer. Now, since we're talking about interesting rulings of Reb Shimon bar Yochai about non-Jews, so the current ruling we just gave was a more sympathetic one, you might say. I mean, okay, he didn't say that any convert is okay, but at least Pachos Migimel Shanim. Now let's take a look at a ruling of his that actually makes more of a Jew non-Jew distinction in a way that is famously something that has been like challenging. So B'china Reb Shimon Yochai Omer Kivei Ovdei Kochavim Einam Mitami Ba'ohel. The graves of non-Jews do not cause tumor in an ohel. Shene'amar v'aten son'i, you are my flock, son ma'iti, the flock of my shepherding, adam atem, you are you people. So atem krim adam, you are Adam, you my flock, the Jewish people. Ain't of the kochavim krim Adam. Non-Jews are not called Adam.
Leniency.
So it's a leniency for us. But anyway, you could understand how that could be seen as very dehumanizing of non-Jews. And it's particularly ironic when it's juxtaposed to the previous thing, where he's more willing to, maybe you could say in both cases he's being lenient, but okay. But, there he's not being completely dismissive of non-Jews. Now, I'll talk about a Tosfos in a minute, who deals with nuancing this, but let's just finish the Gemara. Basically, I'll ask you on this. So it says the people were 16,000 by the Midian. So you see, it's calling them Adam. No, Nushum Behema. That's contrasted to the animals, but it's not. But so in that context, it has to say Adam. Asher yeshba harbe mishvei Mesrei ribo Adam. Asher lo yada ben yamino ulif smolo. This is by Ninveh. 12 myriad, 120,000 people, and it calls them Adam. So it ends. So the Haggah here took off the end of the pasuk because then the answer would have been obvious. Ubehema Rabbah is the end of the pasuk. So the Gemara says no, mishum behema. That was to contrast it to the behema, but that's why it uses the word Adam. Otherwise, it wouldn't. Rashi helpfully tells us. Rashi says. Where's the Rashi? The first narrow line. Okay. By the way, the people of Nineveh were non-Jews. It's like so funny that he had to tell us that. Maybe because we read it every Yom Kippur, we must think that it's Jewish or something. I don't know. Anyway, it says anybody who killed somebody has to purify themselves, and there they were going at war against Midian, so that's non-Jews. So the Gemara says no. That's because maybe a Jew was killed. Rabbanan, and the Rabbi said,
they killed a Jew?
No, the Midianites killed a Jew.
No, but no one got killed in the past.
Let's take a look. Rabbanan lo nifkad mimenu ish. No, that didn't happen. Nobody was missing. Rabbi Shimon Yochai lo nifkad mimenu ish laveira. It means nobody sinned in terms of maybe having had sex with a Midianite woman. But maybe a Jew was actually killed. Ravina Amar. Now Ravina says, and this is the very important lahalacha. The last pasuk is here's the real answer. Although Rabbi Shimon Yochai says the pasuk excludes non-Jews from tumas ohel, from communicating tumah if they're under the same roof, a non-Jewish body, but mitmuye ba'ohel, that's in terms of tumas ohel. To see Adam ki yamut ba'ohel. The drush is on the word Adam, a person who dies in an ohel. Mimagu umasa mimatinukah. They're not excluded from contact tum'ah. Now that is very important because of that. If there was a position they were totally excluded from contact tum'ah, the whole question is like, can a Kohen be a doctor, would completely go away, right? Because there's one question about, can a Kohen never go into a hospital? Right, because are there there's bodies in the morgue? But if you say non-Jews, it's not a problem, then it depends. Well, which hospital is it? Is it a Jewish hospital or not, or whatever? But in some cases, you can generally work with an assumption that we don't have to assume that there's necessarily a Jewish body in the morgue, and that allows obviously for leniencies because non-Jews are not matami ba'ohel, right? How can you fly over cemeteries? Right. Now that's a question when you have big Jewish cemeteries also. I have relatives who are Kohanim. So they're not whatever blood relatives, who don't go into the Metropolitan Museum because of the mummies. Yeah. So they're being choshesh that a non-Jew is matami b'ohel. But if we were to say that a non-Jew is not matami b'maga, then it would be tremendous leniency. So there's no. Matami b'maga. They're not matami. The issue is matami b'ohel. Now there's a question about how do we paskin? Do we paskin like Rabbi Shimon Yochai, right? Can you go into a hospital if it's only non-Jews in the morgue? Can you go into the Metropolitan Museum? So there's actually a machlokas about this. Overwhelmingly, the assumption is that we do paskin like Rabbi Shimon Yochai, and non-Jew is not matami b'ohel, but there definitely are some kohanim that are choshesh that even non-Jews are matami b'ohel. So if you take a look at Tosfos,
so which is the majority?
Tosfos says, I told you it. The general assumption is that they're not. So he says, if you take a look 4 lines down in the wide lines here of the Tosfos, the Omer right under the words mimaga, the Omer read the ein halachak Reb Shimon. Don't rule like Reb Shimon, etc. So there actually is a debate how we rule about that. But again, the consensus tends to be that they are not. Now, in terms of the issue of Adam, so Tosfos, there's a famous contradiction with another sugya where the Gemara says, speaks very positively about non-Jews and says, how do you know about non-Jew that learns Torah, that does Torah, does mitzvot, that they're even as great as a Kohen Gadol? Because it says, so what's the exact pasuk? What? Asher yaseh otam ha'adam v'chai behem. Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim lo nemar ela ha'adam. Even a non-Jew. So well, how do you deal with it? So Rashi says, okay, it's a machlokas. Rabbi Shimon Yochai thinks Adam excludes non-Jews, right? And another Tana thinks Adam includes non-Jews, which would have Rabbi Shimon Yochai saying having a very type of categorical approach towards non-Jews. Tosos tries to nuance it more. And Tosos makes either there's a difference between Adam and Ha-Adam. So in some way, sometimes if it's phrased this way, it means to exclude non-Jews. If it's phrased that way, it doesn't mean to exclude non-Jews. However that works out, the good thing about that is that it doesn't make Rabbi Shimon Yochai so categorical. It makes it more like of a technical diuk and not some sweeping statement that non-Jews can't be called like.
Yeah, but then you get Shulchan
Okay.
Poim Chamor, Amador Chamor.
I know. So I understand why there's a reason to think that Tosos is not necessarily pshat. Yes, Charlie.
I know Kohen, he went to medical school based on the idea that non-Jews don't cause tomorrow hell, but he was also instructed
Right.
not to dissect the cadaver.
Right. So that's the thing. There's one thing being under the thing, but I don't know how do you get away with not dissecting a cadaver? I thought you can't become a doctor.
He had his roommate from Yeshiva College be his partner and did all
That was
the
okay. You could get a medical degree without ever having
He's
actually.
practicing medicine today.
Okay, fine. I do want to show you. Right. You know what they say. What do you call the person who graduated last in his class in medical school?
Doctor.
Okay. So anyway, so
that's the only reason why your relatives won't go into the med.
So anyway, I want to read you a different answer that's normally not known about this in Tosfos. About 10 lines before the lines get wide, the word lines are dichsiv. He says, "Rav Meshulam haya omer the gabe puranus davka." All the psukim we quoted here were about killing people or people dying, right? And there it said Adam versus non-Jew. The gabe puranus davka kamar atem kriim Adam the lorat lichtov Yisrael behedya gabe puranus. Okay, that it didn't want to say explicitly, like it says, if a Yisrael dies ba'ohel, Yisrael ki yamut ba'ohel. So it says Adam, okay? And that's why it's saying Adam there, because it didn't want to say Yisrael. Adam there means Yisrael. So he says very nice. He says, it's not because we think non-Jews are not Adam. It says in a context where we can understand the psukim don't want to explicitly say Yisrael because it talks about dying. We'll say the word Adam is used as a way of saying Yisrael. But as a general rule, Adam means everybody. Adam means Jews and non-Jews.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's very nice. People don't normally know that answer. Okay, so moving on. But now we still have this big question about the status of a Yorah, which is going to continue. Let's keep on going. Irei says Salmana. We had this before, quoted earlier. Somebody did kiddushin with an almana, no problem for a normal kohen, and then he became a kohen gadol. Yichnos can go ahead and do the nisuin, and we discussed before how much does that indicate that the halachas of kohen gadol apply only in terms of kiddushin or not nisuin, or how much is it because here he sort of gets grandfathered in since he was already sort of married to her in this state. Okay. Umaisa b'Yeshua ben Gamla. There was a story of Yeshua ben Gamla. The Kiddush is Marta bas Baisos. He married this woman, Marta bas Baisos. Umanu hamelech lios kohen gadol, and so that was kiddushin, and she was an almana. And then the king appointed him to be a kohen gadol. The king said, and then he married, and then he did nisuin. So there you go. We had a Maisa that actually was acted on like this. Okay. So even as a kohen gadol, he did nisuin. With an almana, the kiddushin had happened before. Shomer's Yabam, if a woman is a Shomer's Yabam, so she's an Almana, okay, but this Kohen is not yet an Arus to her, he hasn't yet done Erisin, right? It's just a Shomer's Yabam. Vinismana Lios Kohen Gadol, and then he becomes a Kohen Gadol. Alpha B'Shasa B'Maimer, he did an act of Kiddushin. But remember, it's only rabbinic Kiddushin, because it's a case of Shomer's Yabam. Remember, Yevamot, this is Masachet. Okay, we said we're somewhere else for a while. Anyway, in this case, since it's not halachically Kiddushin yet, and it's only Zika and Ma'amar, so since he wasn't married, since there was no Kiddushin,
but Beit Shammai disagree, right?
Beit Shammai might disagree, but here he cannot go ahead and do Yibum because he's not the Kiddushin had not yet taken place. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, we thought. He shall take her as an isha, and the way this is being read is that yikach here, those questions, does yikach mean kiddushin or nisuin? Here it's being read as nisuin. He can do nisuin with her once she is right, even if she's already 1 minute, what's the drasha? Right, once she's already his wife, Once she's already his Isha, his wife, then he can go ahead and do the Nisuin with her. So the Gemara says, Yachi Shemeres Yabam Nami. So let's go ahead and do it even with her Shemeres Yabam. No, Isha, the Lo Yevamot. No, if she's already his wife, he can do Nisuin with her. But if he's just the sister-in-law, he can't go ahead and do Nisuin with her. Okay, Ma'aseh Yoshua. Now this shows Yoshua. So the Gemara points out a difference between the language in the beginning of the Mishnah and the end. The beginning of the Mishnah, when this case of Yoshua ben Gamla says, Umineu HaMelech, the king appointed him. At the end it speaks, in the case of Shemeres Yabam, it says, what happens if there was a Zika, and then Nitmaneh, he was elected, right? So there's a difference, the passive voice and the active voice. So the Gemara says, Mineu in, by Yoshua ben Gamla says he was appointed by the king. Nitmaneh lo, not that he was elected. Amar of Yosef, now it assumes that the idea he was elected suggests more an idea of a consensus. Like he was appointed means like, everybody acknowledged his appointment and so on. And as Rashi says, maybe the fellow Kohanim are normally involved in the process. Sort of like the white smoke and no, that's something else. Yeah. Anyway, but how much, right? How much, so it's not just a one person appointment from above. There's a whole process and the result of the process is Nitmanet. It doesn't say that here. It says Mineu HaMelech. So Amar of Yosef, Kater Kachazina Hacha. I see a little I see some conspiracy going on here, like a band, people working together. The Amar of Asi, because Ravasi said, Tirkava de Dinri, Ailele Marta Basbaiso. So this Amana that he married was a very rich Amana, and a whole basket full of dinare, Marta Basbaiso sort of sent Liyanai Malka to Yanai HaMelech. Until he made Yoshua ben Gamla Kohen Gadol. So basically, the king was bribed so that her husband could become a Kohen Gadol, who he conveniently had already done Kiddushin, but not yet Nisuin with. Actually, Nisuin would have made it even better. But anyway, and that's why he was appointed by the king, even though it was not something that a position he normally otherwise would have had. Yeah, Charlie?
Yeah, she appears in the Kamzan Bar Kamzan narrative, and her wealth doesn't do her any good in that.
Exactly. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this. I'm just trying to think what this is. Okay, so next Mishnah. Kohen Gadol Shemait, if a Kohen Gadol dies, Achiv, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Kohen Gadol Shemait Achiv, a Kohen Gadol whose brother died, so now he's faced with an almana as his sister-in-law, as a mitzvah of Yibam. Cholit Ulam Yabim. He does Cholit and not Yibam. So the Gemara says, well, let's take a look. Kapasik Vatani, you're not making distinctions. Lo Shamin Erisin, Lo Shamin Nisuin. Doesn't matter if this woman who's an almana that's standing in front of him is an almana from Erisin or from Nisuin. I get why he can't do Yibum if he had Nisuin with his brother. There's an Asay. She's assumed to be a non-Besula because she had Nisuin. And she's a Lotasay of an almana. And that can't override. The Ein Essay, the mitzvah of Yibum doesn't override. Alamina Erisin, if she was just married to the brother by Erisin, so it's only the Lotasay of an almana. There's no mitzvah Asay because she might very well be a virgin. So if that's true, Yavo Essay v'yitzchas Lotasay. Let the of Yibum override the Lotasay. Right. So the Gemara says, you know what? In principle, you're right. But Gzeira be a Rishona ought to be a Shniya. That only allows the first act of sex. The first act of sex is the mitzvah. Afterwards, there's no longer a mitzvah saseh. So he would have to do the act of Yibum and then divorce her. And we're not going to let him do the act of Yibum because we're afraid they'll stay married. And the second act of sex will no longer be the mitzvah saseh.
That's a funny thing. You could have said that the first act of Bia would have then nullified the past status of her. And
why? Let's say a Kohen like the Gemara said before, it's Makadeh Shazona. We don't say, oh, well, now that they're Kiddushin, we ignore her halachic status.
She's married, we saw.
Oh, you mean she wouldn't be called an almana because that has to do with her marital status. Interesting. Okay, so the Gemara does not say that. Tosos makes another point. If you look at Tosos, he says, "From Gadol Shemeis Shemeis Achiv." I can't remember yet. Cholit Fulom Yabeim. So Tosos says, "V'im Tomer Reisha Shamin and Lo Diktani Shemer Shabim L'Kohen Hedyot. V'Omer Re'i Dahacha Cholit Asalash Miuna." The Sabbatai Mishum Bizayon the Kohen Gadol. Imagine what the process of chalitza is. Here you're going to take this woman and she's going to spit in the down in front of the Kohen Gadol. I understand. So avagav the kfar tanan el, etc. So the point is, okay, but he has to undergo it, or else she's going to be, completely an aguna her whole life. So okay. Anyway, interesting that he points out that aspect of it. Next Mishnah, Kohen Hedyot. Lo yisa ilanis, elin ken yeshlo isha banim. If you have a normal Kohen, he can't marry an Ilanis, a woman who is unable to have kids. It doesn't just mean an akara. An Ilanis is some type of a woman who, like, physically about her body in some obvious way, there are male characteristics, we'll see about it. But it's not just a simple case of akara. Anyway, he can't marry this woman unless, because of the mitzvah puravu.
Unless anybody then.
Well, I know, the Gemara is going to say that. Unless he has a wife and children. Now, Rashi's gear says unless he has children. The gear says wife and children is read wife or children. Either he already has children, it was Mekayim Puravu, or he has another wife, and he'll be able to be Mekayim Puravu with his other wife. Okay, so, but the issue with him is whether he's going to be able to be Mekayim Puravu. And if he's able to, or already has been, not a problem. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, now you see why we're talking about a Kohen. Okay, because in order to get to Rabbi Yehuda's position, so the first position is it's not a problem, it's not a Kohen problem, it's just a Puravu problem. No, Rabbi Yehuda says it is a Kohen problem. Even if he's been Mekayim Puravu, lo yisa ilanis, she's zona hamur b'Torah. Now, why would you say she's a zona? Because this is a woman who can fundamentally never be in the parsha of childbirth. And this takes an approach that sex is only considered to be not just an act of, like, I don't know, pleasure seeking and fornication, only because of the context of the possibility of procreation. And therefore, with this woman, where it's never part of that, I mean, obviously, it doesn't mean that in the case of a marriage, if a woman is, post-menopause or pregnant or other things, but there is a context, a procreative context that frames the, the sexual relationship, or seen as framing it. And he says when that's not fundamentally excluded, then it's a zona. Now, it should be noted that this is a major question in different attitudes in the Gemara, which have serious implications for halacha, and one of them is here, whether to see marital sex this way. Is marital sex seen as being legitimate only because of the procreative context, or is it fundamentally seen as legitimate as an intrinsic value, as an intrinsic thing of, vayula basar echad, and bringing husband and wife together as one? I often like to point to the two interpretations of Rashi and the Ramban on the pasuk of vayula basar echad. So Rashi says, what's vayula basar echad? Because they have a child, and through the child, their flesh becomes one. Okay, which basically says that whole pasuk is saying, why is it so beautiful, man and woman come together? Because they'll have children. As opposed to the way the Ramban reads it, which is not, because they actually become one as a couple. So this is reading that it should not be understood to be the normative understanding of not just of the definition of zona, but the normative understanding of marital sex. But that is the position here of Reb Yehuda, and therefore he says that this would be the case of the zona in the Torah, when this type of a woman is completely out of the procreative context. And the rabbis say, "Ein zona el giyos mishucheres v'shani v'labilatznos." So we quoted this before. The order mishucheres either because we suspect that they've had sex with a non-Jew, or the idea that I suggested, maybe because of a general way of looking at non-Jews, and that's a type of an idea of zona, or a Jewish woman who's had a forbidden act of sex, which is basically means two types of forbidden act of sex. One is an Isser Kares, forbidden act of sex, and the other would be a type of act of sex that is forbidden specifically to Kohanim, like a Grusha with a Kohen, and so on, although that also might make her a Halala. Okay, so those are very important questions about the definition of zona for Kohanim. Let's take a look. Do you have a question before, Phil? No? Okay, so let's take a look. Amalei Reish Galusa to Rav Huna. So the Reish Galusa to Rav Huna. My taima, what's the reason? It's interesting. They were stam learning Torah, and he said to him, "What's the reason of this Mishnah, the Tanakama? Mishum that he can't, that a Kohen can't marry an Ilanis unless he's had kids. Mishum Piri of Rivya." So because of Puruvus, he said, "A Piri of Rivya Kohanim Huda Mifkedi, Yisrael Lo Mifkedi." So why do you have to tell me that a Kohen can't marry an Ilanis unless he's been Mekayim Puruvu? What, are only Kohanim commanded on Puruvu? So he says, no. No. The whole point of the Tanakhama was a lead into Reb Yehuda, that the Tanakhama said the only problem with the Kohen is the normal problem of Pruervu. But that's to get you to the Seifa that Reb Yehuda Omer, even forgetting Pruervu, there's a problem according to Reb Yehuda about an Ilanis, because I'm not taking any questions right now. Okay, now the Azona Kohanim who depakti Yisrael lo mifkedi. So it's to get you to Reb Yehuda that says that no, even with kids, it's a zona problem, and that is why it's specifically a problem for Kohanim. Okay, Tani Kohen. My time with Reb Yehuda. What's the reason of Reb Yehuda? They will eat and not be satisfied. He's new. They will fornicate and will not somehow burst forth. So what does that mean? Kol bia she'ein ba pritza or pirza, any sex that does not have the idea of like ufaratzta yama vakedma, etc., that does not have the idea of spreading forth your progeny, is not in a procreative context. Is fundamentally just an act of fornication. It has to become in a type of a procreative context. Tosa says right at the top here, okay, so ktana and other types of cases, eventually it's in that context. It's the broader context. All right, but it was in that whatever. It's an interesting question, right? I mean, let's say they got married after menopause. All right, but somehow, in terms of the people involved, it's not like it was fundamentally, categorically off the table. Now, I would say that this attitude that sex is only legitimated because of the procreative element, you find echoes to it even in more strict ways than this. I mean, again, not as strict halacha, but still as attitudinal issues. Like in the Rambam and elsewhere, you get this idea that when he discusses the problem of like zera levatala, you get the idea that it sounds a little bit like a man having sex with his wife when she's not fertile is a quasi zera levatala problem. Never black and white says it, but this type of idea is present even beyond these contexts, and he's saying that very much about sex being legitimated because of the procreative aspect. Let's just read. I know we have like 1 minute left, but I would just want to read the next because it's the Ketana. It's the end of this thought. Tanya, we turn to Bryce, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Kohen lo yisas a Ketana. Kohen can't marry a Ketana. It's so funny because before we spoke about a Kohen Gadol, Dafka marrying maybe a Ketana, or so Rabbi Eliezer. Okay. So Amarle Reb Chizda l'Rabbis, Reb Chizda said, Rabbi Puk Iinba, go look into this, what this position is based on. Because in tonight, Rav Huna is going to ask you what's behind Rabbi Eliezer's position. And now we're going to go on to find a reason. We'll read the first reason, we'll unpack it tomorrow. Nafik Iinba, he went and looked into it, and this is the conclusion he came to, why a Ketana is a problem. Rabbi Eliezer Savalak Reb Meir Savalak Reb Yehuda. It's a combination of two positions, a Rabbi Meir position and a Reb Yehuda position. Savalak Reb Meir Dechayish Lemiyuta. Reb Meir in general is concerned for even smaller problems. The Savalak Reb Yehuda Damar island is zona. So he's concerned that if a woman is an islandess, she's usher to a kohen, and he's concerned that even for small percentage possibilities, so never marry a Ketana. Why should a kohen never marry a Ketana? Because maybe in 2% of the cases, she'll turn out to be an islandess, and that's the reason. Now, the Gemara is going to go ahead and unpack that, and we'll do that tomorrow. But what I wanted to say is, what could he have said? He could have said, don't marry a Ketana because it's biatznus, right? Because it's not procreative. So that's why it doesn't. Even when we're saying that illness is considered biatznus, it has to be procreative, we don't mean like looking at every single act. We mean like a bigger picture. So if a woman's a Ketana or she's post-menopause, if she's pregnant, nobody's calling that biatznut. Okay? What we're calling biatznut is when there's a sense of like categorical exclusion. All right? Now, of course, one has to think about this poor woman who probably the only thing she wants to do, I don't think I should say that. Anyway, that basically, it feels like she can't have kids, and we're basically now saying, and anytime you have sex, we're going to consider it a type of a biatznut, But so that's obviously, an issue that also, has to be pointed out here. But anyway, the point is, it's a fundamental attitude of how to look at sex that it only is legitimated in the procreative context. But even within that, not saying it like every single act. Ketana. The Gemara Dafka does not suggest by Ketana that the problem is biatznut. It looks for other reasons. Now, we would have other issues with Ketana, not biatznut, child abuse, and so on. But in terms of the attitudes towards sex, the Gemara does not suggest that's what's going on by Ketana. So we'll see how the Gemara deals with these explanations tomorrow.
So we don't say the other way around. Let him marry his islandess and then later on marry a wife, but he can't. So